Hey everyone, welcome to the XPGaming podcast with Ronal, aka Eric, and myself, Mike, aka MTBtrigger. You can call us whatever you want, but at the end of the day, we're two dudes with microphones that are about to talk about some games. Glad to have you here. So today, we're going to be talking about some good old Pubg, and specifically, we're going to be talking about a new mode that was available to us on the test server. But before we get started, do me a favor. Go up there and click that subscribe button up at the top. And if you're feeling extra generous, give us that little thumbs up button on the bottom left. That helps us greatly on YouTube. So thank you for being here and thanks for doing that. So before we jump into the new mode though, I did want to give just a bit of background on Pubg, since we've mostly been talking about World of Warcraft at this point. So again, my main game is Pubg. And I've got about 1,400, maybe 1,500 hours in Pubg. I'm actually a Pubg partner, and I actually run another audio-only podcast called Winner Winner that is exclusively focused on Pubg. So I'm on that Pubg grind most of the time, and then I've been playing, some WoW Classic, some Teamfight Tactics in my spare time, but Pubg is definitely the main one for me. So, Eric, how long have you been playing Pubg?
Well, I've got a lot of experience in Pubg. I'm hitting that 20-hour mark, which basically means that my current strategy is to hide and then die at some point.
Which, when everybody starts Pubg, that's pretty much the thing that you kind of figure out, right? Is there's no tutorial, there's no here's how to do things. The training mode's actually kind of hard to find, and the training mode is basically just a wide open area. So you kind of jump into games and it's like, kill or be killed, and good luck figuring it out.
Yep, you kind of just get thrown right in, and it's okay. It's okay. I mean, the training mode is there, and for a new player to learn how to use the guns, the training mode's great. You can run around, pick up the gun, pick up all different add-ons for the various guns, learn about the different ammo, all those kinds of things, the different armors, bags, helmets, all that kind of stuff. It's definitely there. There's definitely a learning curve, though, to Pubg, I gotta say.
Right, and originally this episode we were going to do was going to be how to have fun as a new player in Pubg. And the truth is, since I started playing this game and when I really started digging into it about a year ago, I've been fascinated, intrigued, and oftentimes frustrated with the new player experience that Pubg offers, because it is one of the most demanding games as far as knowledge before you're quote-unquote good. And good can mean a lot of different things in Pubg. The two main schools of thought are surviving or killing, right? And the best players are good at surviving and killing, but it just takes a lot of knowledge to get to that point. So the interesting thing is, when we were planning for this episode, again, we were going to talk about how to have fun as a new player, but actually just this past Friday, we both got to experience something that was new to Pubg and very unique, and we both happened to be playing in the custom server that I run on Friday evenings, and it was a cool enough experience that we both sort of had similar good reactions to, I guess is what I would say. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. So this new mode is called Zombie Royale, and it's not something that's in the main game. It's on the custom servers for Pubg. But I just wanted to open that up. So initial thoughts, Eric, we played Zombie Royale, and we played one round of it with a group of about 30 people. What was your just initial thoughts having played 30 to 40 hours of the basic Pubg game, and compared to this, Zombie Royale? What did you think?
Honestly, I thought it was a lot of fun. I think that they really nailed it with Zombie Royale. I think that there is there's a certain degree of team play that's not even in squads. It's kind of weird, but it felt like there was more of a team aspect to the mode, which I think made the game ultimately a little bit more fun. The I just think it was fun. The zombies obviously have different like set of abilities, different sets of characteristics that you can do with them. The game is really more about surviving, picking up a bunch of ammo, being able to survive. The zombies are harder to kill. They can do, zombie-like things, which makes the game more kind of interesting and fun. So I really, my first impressions were that it was a blast, and I really think that this was a great addition to the game.
Yeah, and I agree for different reasons, and I'll kind of get into that. But I guess one of the things that we've talked about a lot was, you aren't a big first-person shooter player, but when you started getting into PUBG, which was, I talked about it a lot, so you kind of tried it. But in a lot of our conversations, you were kind of always talking about how hard it is, and hey, I don't want to play with you if it's gonna bring the team down or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'll play with anyone. But there's always that feeling of like, as a new player, you don't want to like burden an experienced player. So, I mean, have you felt that in PUBG in general? And did you feel that in this zombie mode?
Not often. I will say that the PUBG community is somewhat unique. Now, granted, every community has its outliers, but I would say overall, it's been a lot of fun to play PUBG with the PUBG community. I think first-person shooters get a bad rap because most of the time the people that play them are a little elitist, and you can get that in any game. So I'm not saying that's just a first-person shooter thing. You definitely get that in WoW. Definitely can get that in any game. But when it comes to PUBG, it seems to be a little bit less of that than normal that I've run into, anyways. And this particular mode was just a blast. I mean, we were hanging out. We played with a bunch of people that we knew, so this was a custom game with people just online to have fun. It wasn't a tournament or anything, and so I just think that the community is healthy, and I had a really good time doing it.
Nice, yeah, and I think you made a good point there that the PUBG community is unique, and I think part of that is somewhat the demographic of the player, but the other part is that because PUBG is so unforgiving on things like the time it takes to kill somebody, often referred to as TTK, this game can make any experienced player feel like a noob sometimes because you can get absolutely demolished. But furthermore, I think with this zombie mode, I think the most intriguing thing, and just a high level, PUBG is a battle royale, right? So you'd have anywhere from 20 to 100 players in a game, and it's last man standing. I think what really jumped out to me about Zombie Royale was adding this mechanic in that when you die, you come back and you have something to do. And in the Zombie Royale mode, that means you become a zombie and you get to, run around and chase after players after a certain amount of time. So it just gives you this extra, staying power in the game, because as a new person, again, it just seems like it can be really frustrating when you join a game, you drop in and you die. And you do that over and over and over and over again. And this is where I think Zombie Royale is a really good way, maybe not, I don't know if it's necessarily the first thing you would want a new player to jump in, but somebody who at least understands the game and has gotten a few kills and has maybe survived to the end game a handful of times. I think Zombie Royale may give that extra staying power to keep somebody engaged with PUBG. I mean, how do you feel about, again, you're, 30 to 40 hours in, do you have a similar sentiment towards, I guess my question would be, if you were going to go back and play PUBG tomorrow and you had the option to play the regular game or Zombie Royale, what would you do?
I think one of the things that Zombie Royale does for an experienced player is it gives the ability to show off weapon mastery. I mean, you're going to be running around with your gun, and you're going to have the ability to take a lot of shots. It takes a lot to take down a zombie, and so if you are really good with a gun and you're really good shooting through your scope, getting your bullet arcs right, getting your twitchiness of staying and avoiding getting shot, if you're good at all of those things, it's really going to place you far ahead of the pack, I'll just say, in the Zombie Royale mode, because the zombies they just take a lot of shots to take down. So I think that weapon mastery is something that an experienced player can really, be in their glory, have their moment where they're like, I'm really good whatever. I can run around with that shotgun and I can kill as many zombies as I can. So, and then for a new player like myself, I mean, honestly, it's just one of those deals where it's just fun and overwhelming. So it's just kind of still not really a point of being really that much different, other than the team aspect of all the zombies versus your squad is the different kind of gameplay that is a little bit more appealing to a newer player, because in the regular game it's bang bang dead, and that's good. I mean, that's the way the game is, and that's the way it's meant to be. And it's get better or die, and you do get better over time. But this is a game that is, the learning curve is, you just need to get better. And I think that it's almost a little bit forgiving to a newer player, because of you all turn into zombies after you die, or your squad has survived, so you're all banding together versus everyone else. So that'd be, I mean, I like that part of the game.
Well, so if you're in a regular game of PUBG, like, how long do you typically last? Like, if you have minutes on it, or is there a certain, like, do you find yourself getting to a certain point in the match each time?
So that's an interesting question. It all depends upon, what kind of strategy that I'm employing at the time. I make the joke about hiding and then dying, but really what I try to do is, when I first started, it was absolutely about sneaking around. And it's funny because I watch some other PUBG videos on YouTube and watch other players play, and absolutely the joke is, yes, I'm going to sneak around. And I'm just going to try to not to die. And that's exactly what naturally my instincts were when I started playing PUBG. And so I think that that's just kind of natural. You want to play enough so that you at least get some experience trying to understand how to play the game. Because again, like, the test mode is good, but it's really just the guns, the actual sneaking around and trying to figure out, like, okay, I can hear somebody. What am I hearing? How far is that person away? Bullets are flying around me. What does that mean? Does that gun have a suppressor on it? What is the distance then because of that? And so all of those things, I'm just in the initial phases of, I see bullets flying around me. I'm just barely good enough to know they're coming from this direction. And that's kind of where I'm at. I can't really tell, honestly, at this point, how far someone is away from me. I am now just to the point where I can keep myself moving around, so I don't get like, kind of camped and shot. And I think in general the learning curve is steep, but once you learn like some very, very basic things, it all of a sudden becomes, okay, I didn't just die right away. And I would say in general, I'm hesitant to like just do a hot drop right into the middle of, a bunch of players. So I'm kind of more playing on the edges, but I would say I'm kind of in this weird kind of new, but not totally first time spot.
Right. And it's super interesting. You brought up a couple things there that just made me realize why I feel the way I do about this new mode. And I'm on record on the Winter podcast that's going to come out this week as well, saying that I think this Zombie Royale mode could actually end up being a main game mode for PUBG, not necessarily just a custom server mode. And it could be one of those things that attracts new players in and also gets people to come back. I think it's that good, or it has the ability to be that good. But when you were talking about a new player generally is going to come in and watch videos, and your tendency was to avoid people. It was to survive and to crouch and walk around. What that made me realize with this zombie mode, and I hadn't thought about this before, was one of the best parts about this Zombie Royale is it's going to force a new player. When you become a zombie, you get all this health, you can jump over buildings, and the only way to then damage human players or get revenge is to get in their face and start hitting them, like punching melee distance. So for a new player, it almost forces you to do what you don't want to do as a new player, which I think is going to be a good experience for a new player. And for existing players, you alluded to this as well, it's the opportunity to really practice and really show off your weapon skills, because these zombies have in the basic settings, they have 400 hit points compared to the standard 100. So you have to hit a lot of shots to take one down. So the experienced player is going to have fun controlling their recoil, using different weapons, ammo conservation, right? All of those things that you get as you play over time. But it forces the new player to be like, oh, now I have to go engage these people in close quarters combat, which is like the exact opposite of what you just explained you were doing in the beginning part of your PUBG experience.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things that ended up happening in the game we played, I was on a team and we ended up winning, and my contribution was probably, 15% of the actual win, but the experience of playing it was a lot of fun because we ended up on top of this roof of this building, and it was kind of like, the circle's coming in, so the blue zone's coming in, all the zombies are surrounding us, and we're just fighting for our life at the top of the building. And it is a unique mode, which I think is going to attract maybe a different kind of first-person shooter. And also, too, once you do turn into a zombie, you have the ability to keep playing the game. And the punishing aspect of PUBG, where the game could last for 20 minutes, but you're out in 30 seconds. It's good and it's bad, right? It's good because I think winning in PUBG is one of the hardest things to do in just about any game that I've played. Winning an actual PUBG round with good players, 100 players start. As a new player, I can sneak around and I can make it easily down to like 30 because I can just avoid people until 30. But then, obviously, the circle starts pushing you in, and you get to the point where you start engaging people, and by the time you get to 30 and under, those players are way better than me. They're 1,000-hour plus players. Those guys know what they're doing. They've got all the different tips, tricks, their key bindings, their interface, all of that is set up so naturally because of the number of hours that they played. The things that I'm thinking about, they don't even think about. They're just muscle memory and natural. And it's interesting because I think that the zombie mode allows for both of those groups of people to enjoy and then actually last to the end with the same amount of gameplay. And I really think PUBG really did a good job with this.
Well, and yeah, I mean, you hit it there. There's all these other battle royales that are coming out, and there's some really popular ones. And the one that gets pointed to a lot as main competition for PUBG was Apex Legends, and one of the things that they brought into the game, really into Battle Royale in general, at least the modern version here, is they had a resurrection system where if your teammate got killed, you could pull something off of their body and go to fixed locations on the map, and you could bring them back with no gear. And it basically made that person not want to quit the game or go start a new one. It gave them investment in the rest of the game because there's an opportunity for them to come back. And this is something that the PUBG community has been asking for, or people keep saying like, oh, bring in reinforcements or call in something so you can bring people back. And it's not something that's in the game, but that's why this zombie mode I think is so important, because just to your point, it can take that person who dies in the first 30 seconds and give them extra minutes or even extra seconds or extra investment into that particular game. So while I don't think Zombie Royale should be looked at as the training mode for the base game of PUBG, it could end up becoming something that new players flock to and existing players and veteran players really enjoy as a quote-unquote break from the original game. And because of that, I'll just go on record and say it again, that I think this Zombie Battle Royale could end up being a base mode part of PUBG, and I think it could be the thing that really saves PUBG for bringing in new players. And I've also gone on record saying that, I really think this game needs to move to free-to-play, and this is the kind of mode that could retain a lot of players and get them ready for the main game and playing a true PUBG game. Because my gut is if you kept playing Battle Royale, Zombie Battle Royale, if you put another 30 to 40 hours into that, you're going to feel so much more comfortable in the base game because you're going to have been forced to do close quarters combat. You're going to have been forced to learn weapon or ammo conservation, use different weapons. You're going to learn the map and where the good places are to get, vertical advantage over zombies, or good places to defend, or places you don't want to get stuck in close quarters because you can get meleeed. It teaches you so many things that come in handy in the base game, or has the ability to teach you so many of those things, that again, this mode could be just an absolute essential piece of PUBG going forward.
I think actually the Zombie Royale may go to a different level and turn out to be an awesome tournament style play. Think about this scenario. Think about right now in PUBG, you have 100 players and each one dies until you get down to 1. So when you're at like 10 players or less, you're killing each other and it comes down to 1-on-1. But think about the concept of winning a tournament where it's 99 on 1. And it's 99 zombies on one person, and that person has to mow down all the zombies, through some kind of, just ridiculous but entertaining gameplay, and the skill it would take to do that. And I think that style of tournament could really have a large following, because think about that. I mean, think about the skill it would take, which is so much more than the base game even, because we talk about zombie mode being a training mode. But think about what it would take for someone to win a zombie match that was just solo. I honestly think that the skill cap might actually be a little bit higher, and I'm really curious on your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it opens up just a world of opportunity, right? And you may not be aware of this, but they actually added 3 zombie modes in this new patch. So there's a zombie survival mode, there's zombie battle royale, and then there's one other one that the name is eluding me. But they actually have that zombie mode, or there's like there's survivor mode, the battle royale, and there's one other one. But basically, there's one where it's one team of humans, and then everybody else is zombies. There's one where it's just humans that are trying to survive from endless waves of zombies. And then there's the battle royale mode where you can get turned. And I think you're right. I think there's probably a subset of rules or that will get fleshed out that could end up being a competitive mode, or maybe a small scene of people who try to get really good at it. It's going to be really interesting to see how this thing moves forward. This is something that had been talked about, and there was a kind of a zombie survival mode in the game before, but the zombies were your traditional, they're not doing anything quick. But now you have all these options on how much health they have, how fast they can go. Do they respawn? Do they not? I think there's going to be a period of, early adopters figuring out how it goes. But I think over the next few months, you'll see people get the zombie mode, the zombie battle royale, the survival, the, humans versus zombies. I think all of that's going to get refined just from the players messing with the custom settings. And it's going to turn into, I don't want to say niche, but I think it could turn into a pretty big scene for PUBG. I mean, I never got into Left 4 Dead or any of those other zombie games that had so much popularity as multiplayer games, but PUBG basically added 3 brand new modes that have really a lot of legs and could end up being competitive, to your point, but could also just be what they are and do really well. So I'm just excited to see where it goes, because I think this is a huge, great addition to the game that I don't think anyone was really expecting to be added at this point, or to be as good as it is.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. I think that for new players like myself, it's a great time to come into PUBG. And if anybody listening to this podcast is thinking about playing PUBG, maybe you're a WoW player and you're listening to this saying, oh, what's this PUBG game? And you may not like first-person shooters or have not tried one in a while, but I really think PUBG is a game that you could get into. It's not like playing other first-person shooters that are maybe more toxic environment, or the gameplay's just not as fun. But I would definitely say it's a good crossover game, even though it is somewhat punishing. It's oddly the punishing part is kind of fun. So I can definitely say that as an MMO first player, PUBG's been a great experience, and I've really enjoyed getting into it.
Yeah, and again, I have just a tremendous amount of hours in PUBG, so I can't say anything but good things about it. It's the game that got me excited about creating content. It got me into the gaming community in a way that I hadn't been before. And, Eric, aka Ronal, said that, the community is different. And I really feel that way. I think the people that are playing PUBG, it's an amazing community. So if you've got an interest in trying something new, or you're already playing PUBG and you haven't tried the zombie mode, definitely get into it. But as for us, I mean, did you have anything else you wanted to add to this? I think we covered what we wanted to and quite a bit more, actually. So.
Nope, I'm really excited, like I said, to play some more PUBG and try the zombie mode out. And I just, again, want to reiterate, if you're an MMO player looking to try a first-person shooter, PUBG is a great one to get into. And I'm looking forward to getting better as I put more time in.
Awesome. Well, I think for us, that's everything we've got this week. So, Ronald, why don't you tell them where they can find you or get in contact with you?
Yep, thanks everybody for listening. You can follow me on the Twitters at RonalGaming, or definitely email the show. The link will be down in the show notes. Thank you everybody for watching, and look forward to making more content.
Awesome. And as for me, again, Mike, aka MTBtrigger, you can find me on Twitch at MTBtrigger, on Twitter, on Instagram. I also did want to mention that you can join the Discord here for the XPGaming podcast. We'll have that link down in the show notes. We'll have our email down there. So if there's something you think we missed or something you want us to talk about, we'll definitely do that. Furthermore, if you want more PUBG related content, I mentioned the Winner podcast before. There's a big community around that, and we also have audio only podcasts for PUBG as well. And then, lastly, you can, again, we'll be talking about, I think next week we're going to talk about probably some more WoW, right? I think that's where we're going to end up next week.
Yep, some more WoW next week, and more PUBG to come in the future as well, so stay tuned.
Awesome. We'll see you guys later.